Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the secrets buried in corporate filings. And let me tell you, this one has a few interesting nuggets about private equity fund dealings. So, what is the big story today? We're diving into a Form 8K report from Brookfield Private Equity Fund LP. Think of this as a company's way of telling the world about any really important event that happens outside of their regular quarterly or annual updates. And this particular filing is all about unregistered sales of equity securities, meaning they sold some company ownership pieces without going through the whole public registration process. This report is dated the 6th of February 2026, and it is letting us know about some transactions that wrapped up around that time. The main player here is Brookfield Private Equity Fund LP. It is a limited partnership, which is a business structure where certain partners manage the business and others are just investors. Now, the filing gives us some official identifiers. This commission file number 000-56760 is like their unique ID with the US Securities and Exchange Commission. Or CC, the heart of this report is about selling what they call units. These are essentially ownership stakes in the fund. They sold these units on the 1st of January 2026, and the final numbers were confirmed on the 6th of February 2026. The total amount they got for these units was a hefty $37 million and change. Let's break down exactly what they sold. They had Class S units, and they sold 403,514 of them for approximately $10.1 million. Then there were Class I units. They sold over 1 million of these, 1,065,599 to be exact, bringing in about $26.8 million. And finally, a much smaller chunk, 991 Class B -2 units, for a tidy sum of $25,000. Now, you might wonder why they're selling these units. It seems like the fund is part of a larger BEPI program, which is a group of investment vehicles managed by Brookfield that share similar goals. So these sales are part of a bigger picture of how they're raising money for their investment strategies. You'll notice they mentioned that these sales were part of a continuous private offering and were exempt from the usual SEC registration rules. This is a common practice for private funds. They sold these units to third-party investors, including specific funds set up for investors with particular tax situations, like those who are tax exempt or are not from the US, the Class B -2 units. The smaller sale, interestingly, went to Brookfield's own entities, affiliates, and even some of their employees, officers, and directors. This could suggest very early stage or internal investment activity. Looking at the broader BPA program, not just this specific fund, they issued interests worth over $62 million on the 1st of January 2026. And since November 2025 through the date of this report, the program as a whole has raised about $188 million in cash. This shows a pretty active fundraising period for Brookfield's private equity efforts. Now, let's talk about how they value these units. They calculate something called transactional NAV. This is basically the net asset value, but specifically used to set the price for buying and selling these partnership units. It is based on the value of the fund's investments at the end of each month, plus other assets, minus liabilities, and some fees. Here are the transactional NAV per unit values as of the 31st of December 2025. For Class B -1 units, it was $25.4. For Class B -2, it was $25.23. Class I units were valued at $25.2 and Class S units at $25.19. Keep in mind these numbers are rounded. The report notes that this transactional NAV might differ from their standard net asset value calculated using general accounting principles. This is because it is tailored for setting transaction prices, and certain potential future tax liabilities might not be factored in if they're not immediately certain. And finally, the filing is signed off by Craig Ruckman, who holds the title of Assistant Secretary. This confirms the official filing on behalf of Brookfield Private Equity Fund LP. So, what is our take on all this? Brookfield, as we know, is a massive player in global investment. This filing shows they are actively managing and fundraising for their private equity offerings. The sales of units, especially to internal parties for Class B -2, could indicate internal strategic moves or early stage capital deployment. The varying NAVs across different unit classes suggest different fee structures or investment strategies tailored to different investor types, which is standard for private equity. The sheer volume of fundraising for the BPA program highlights continued investor appetite for private market exposure despite broader economic uncertainties. A key risk to watch with funds like these, as hinted at in the NAV explanation, is the transparency and timing of valuing complex illiquid assets and potential contingent liabilities. Investors need to be very clear on how these valuations are performed and what risks are truly being accounted for. Overall, This report confirms ongoing activity and capital raising within Brookfield's private equity arm. It is a snapshot of their operational side, showing how they bring in capital and set prices for these private investments. Alright, that is our breakdown of Brookfield Private Equity Fund LP's latest filing. What is your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps. And subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.